Hey everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are looking at tips and tricks for learning English, especially for native Hindi speakers.
Yeah, it's amazing we found all these sources with advice from experts who really seem to get the specific challenges that Hindi speakers face with English.
It's true. And they really do go way beyond the old boring ways of learning a language.
Right, like just memorizing grammar rules or vocabulary lists. Nobody wants to do that.
Exactly. So we are going to skip all that boring stuff and jump right into some of these super creative tips and strategies.
That's good to me.
So the first thing that really stood out was this idea of, starting with the basics.
Right, like building blocks.
Yeah. Simple vocabulary and, sentences.
Yeah, so it's like you're laying the foundation.
Exactly. You wouldn't start building a house with a roof.
Oh, definitely not.
You got to have that solid base first.
You got it.
Okay, so then the sources all talk about pronunciation.
Yeah, and this is so important, It's not just about being able to say the words correctly. It's actually about training your ear to recognize those sounds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so you can think of it like a musician
Okay.
who's training their ear. The more you practice listening, the better you'll be able to play.
And speaking of practice, there are some really cool apps out there
Oh, yeah,
that can help with pronunciation,
for sure.
like Duolingo and HelloTalk. Have you heard of those?
Of course.
So they actually let you hear native speakers,
Oh, wow.
and you can kind of mimic them.
Yeah, that's a great way to practice.
Yeah, it's like having a personal tutor, in your pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it's so much fun compared to the old ways of learning.
right. And I know we'll talk about this more, but it seems like all of these sources agree that making language learning fun is super important.
Absolutely. The more you enjoy it, the more you'll stick with it.
For sure. So, a couple of other apps that the sources recommended
Okay, yeah, let's hear them.
were Memrise and Babbel.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
Have you used them?
I have, yeah. They're both really good for building vocabulary.
Yeah. And it's like learning through games and stuff.
Exactly. Makes it so much more engaging.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so another really interesting strategy that came up
Okay.
was this idea of code switching.
Oh, yeah, I love this one.
Have you heard of that before?
I have. Yeah, it's basically using both Hindi and English together.
Right, as you're learning.
Yeah, and then gradually you start using more and more English.
Exactly. So the sources suggest starting with a mix,
Yeah,
whatever you're comfortable with.
right. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Totally. It's like easing yourself into a swimming pool instead of just jumping into the deep end.
Yeah, a nice gradual transition.
Right. And then as you get more comfortable, you can kind of dip your toes a little deeper.
Exactly. It's all about building that confidence.
Yeah. And speaking of getting comfortable, another big theme was this idea of immersion.
Yes. Surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
So things like watching movies and shows with subtitles.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, have you ever done that?
All the time.
Yeah, it really helps, right?
It does. It's like you're passively absorbing the language.
Yeah, you're not even really trying, but you're still learning.
Exactly. You're just chilling watching a movie.
Right, and your brain is just soaking it all up.
Totally. It's like learning to dance by watching others.
No, I like that.
You pick up the moves without even realizing it.
Okay, so in addition to movies and TV shows, the sources also recommend reading English books.
Yes. Great idea.
Yeah, don't worry. They're not saying, go straight to Shakespeare or anything.
Right. Start with something fun and easy.
Yeah, maybe some children's books.
Oh, those are a good idea.
Yeah, or even comic books.
Oh, yeah. I love those.
They're fun and engaging.
And the pictures can really help you understand the story.
Right, exactly. And, if you come across a word that you don't know,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to look it up in a dictionary.
Yeah. Treat it like a little detective game.
Oh, I like that.
Like you're searching for clues.
And highlighting those words, underlining them, whatever you need to do to make them stick.
Yeah, make them your own.
Exactly.
So, we were talking about basic vocabulary and all.
Right.
But then the sources also get into grammar,
Yeah, and that could be a tricky one.
especially for Hindi speakers, right?
For sure.
English grammar is pretty complex,
It is.
but these sources, they actually have a really interesting take on it.
Yeah, what's that?
So instead of just memorizing all these rules,
Right.
they recommend learning grammar in context.
Oh, so seeing how it's actually used.
Exactly.
Instead of just the theory.
Yeah, it's like learning to cook.
Okay.
You wouldn't just read a cookbook cover to cover.
Yeah.
You'd want to get in the kitchen and actually experiment with the ingredients.
That's a good analogy.
Right. It's about understanding how it works in real life.
Totally. So it's like learning by doing.
Exactly. And speaking of doing, One of the sources recommended using Grammarly.
Oh yeah, I love Grammarly.
It's a great tool.
It's like having a little editor in your pocket.
Right. It can catch your mistakes and offer suggestions.
Yeah, and it helps you improve your writing overall.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about pronunciation grammar.
Right.
But of course, we can't forget about speaking practice.
No way that's like the most important part.
It is.
Right? Like you can know all the grammar and vocabulary in the world.
Right.
But if you can't actually speak the language.
Yeah, what's the point?
Exactly.
And so the sources all emphasize finding ways to practice speaking.
Like with real people.
Yeah, so like language exchange partners.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Have you ever tried that?
I have, yeah. It's a really cool way to meet people from different cultures, too.
Right, and you can help each other learn.
Exactly.
And they're also like online communities and groups.
Yes. Wow.
Where you can connect with other English learners.
It's like joining a team.
I like that.
You're all working towards the same goal.
You can support each other and practice together.
And, even if you don't have a partner or a group, you can still practice speaking on your own.
Oh, really?
Just talk to yourself.
Out loud.
Yeah, like pretend you're giving a presentation or describing your day. I've never thought of that. It might feel silly at first.
Yeah, probably.
But it's a great way to get comfortable with the sounds of the language.
Yeah, it's just to get those words flowing.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
So, okay, we've talked about immersing ourselves in English.
Right.
By watching movies, reading books.
Yeah.
But the sources also take it a step further.
Oh, how so?
They talk about surrounding yourself with English. That's in every aspect of your life.
Wow, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so think about it like this.
Okay.
The more you expose yourself to the language,
Yeah.
the more natural it will become.
Right, it's like immersing yourself in a new culture.
Exactly.
The more time you spend there, the more familiar it becomes.
Right. So what are some ways we can do this?
Well, for example, you can change the language on your phone to English.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. You're using your phone every day anyway.
So you're constantly getting that exposure.
Exactly. You can also listen to English music and podcasts.
Oh, yeah, I love listening to podcasts.
Me too. It's a great way to improve your listening skills.
And learn about different topics at the same time.
Totally.
And what about social media?
Oh, yeah. Follow some English language accounts.
Right. There are tons of great ones out there.
And it's a fun way to learn new words and expressions.
Yeah, for sure.
So even small changes like these
Right.
can make a big difference over time.
It's all about consistency.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's like adding a few drops of dye to a glass of water.
Okay.
Eventually, the whole glass will change color.
That's a great visual.
Right. It's the same with language learning.
The more you expose yourself to it, the more it will seep into your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you'll be thinking in English.
Wow, that's the goal.
It is, and it's totally achievable.
With patience and persistence.
Right.
And remember, everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's part of the process.
Definitely don't let them discourage you.
They're actually valuable learning opportunities.
Yeah. Exactly. Each mistake is a chance to learn and grow.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Embrace them.
Yeah, and celebrate those small victories along the way.
Yes. Did you learn a new word today?
Right.
Did you have a short conversation in English?
Those are all wins.
There, give yourself a pat on the back.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
There are so many people learning English all over the world.
And there are tons of resources available to help you.
So don't be afraid to ask for help.
And connect with other learners.
Share your experiences.
And most importantly, have fun.
Absolutely. Learning English should be an enjoyable experience. It's true. When you look at all these tips and tricks together, it's pretty amazing.
It is. Like, there are so many creative ways to approach learning English.
And so many of them are fun, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like a key takeaway from all these sources.
It is.
They really emphasize making language learning enjoyable.
Right. Because if you're not enjoying it...
You're not going to stick with it.
Exactly.
And another big theme that came up over and over again
Okay.
was the importance of patience and consistency.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Like, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight.
No, definitely not.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I like that.
Right. You're not going to get fluent in a week.
It takes time.
It does. And there are going to be days when you feel like you're making great progress.
Yeah.
And other days when you feel stuck.
Totally. I've been there.
We all have. But the key is to keep going.
Even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Exactly. Like, even 5 minutes is better than nothing.
Right. It's like building a muscle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You don't get ripped overnight by lifting weights for an hour once a month.
You got to do it consistently.
Right. Little by little over time.
And remember, everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah. That's part of the process.
For sure.
Like, don't let them discourage you.
They're actually valuable learning opportunities.
Exactly. It's like learning to play a musical instrument.
Okay,
You're going to hit some wrong notes along the way,
right.
but that's how you learn.
That's how you get better.
Exactly. So embrace those mistakes.
Learn from them and keep practicing.
And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
That's so true.
Confidence is key in language learning.
It is. When you feel confident, you're more likely to take risks, try new things.
Push yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
And remember, celebrate those small victories along the way.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Did you learn a new word today? Did you have a short conversation in English?
Those are all wins.
They are. Give yourself a pat on the back.
You deserve it.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
There are so many people all over the world learning English.
And there are countless resources available to help you.
So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Connect with other learners.
Share your experiences.
And most importantly, have fun with it.
Yes, learning English should be an enjoyable experience.
It should be.
So we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
from pronunciation tips to grammar hacks to the importance of immersion and consistency.
It's been a great deep dive.
It has. Hopefully you're feeling inspired and motivated to continue your English language journey.
I hope so too.
And remember, the most important thing is to just keep going.
Even if it's just a few minutes each day.
You'll get there.
You will.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
It's been a pleasure.
and keep those learning fires burning.
Keep practicing and have fun.